An old woman whose womb had been barren for decades stood beneath the stars, clutching a promise that seemed to mock her very existence. Her husband, equally aged, had heard God's voice speak the impossible. They would become parents. They would birth nations. How could flesh so withered bring forth life? Abraham was 99 years old when the Lord appeared to him in the desert heat. The sun beat down on his weathered tent, and inside, Sarah moved slowly, her joints stiff with age. They had wandered these lands for years, following a voice that promised everything yet delivered only silence. No child, no heir, just endless waiting and the cruel passage of time. "I will make you the father of many nations," God had said, his words hanging in the air like desert mirages. Abraham fell on his face before the divine presence. His heart wanted to believe. His mind screamed the impossibility. He was nearly a century old. Sarah was 90. Her body had long ago ceased its monthly rhythms. The very idea was absurd. Sarah stood behind the tent flap when she heard the promise repeated. 3 visitors sat with Abraham, speaking words that cut through her like knives. "This time next year, Sarah will have a son." She laughed. The sound escaped her lips before she could stop it. A bitter, hollow laugh born of decades of disappointment. She had cried all her tears. Now only mockery remained. "Why did Sarah laugh?" the voice asked, and she felt her blood turn cold. This was no ordinary visitor. Years earlier, the waiting had driven her to desperation. She had watched her body age, watched hope fade like morning dew in the desert sun. The promise echoed in her mind, but her arms remained empty. So she made a choice. She would help God along. "Take Hagar," she told Abraham, pushing her Egyptian servant toward her husband. "Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abraham agreed. He was tired too. Tired of waiting. Tired of faith that produced nothing but more faith. Hagar conceived quickly. The ease of it was a slap across Sarah's face. The servant girl grew proud, her belly swelling with the child Sarah could not produce. Jealousy poisoned the household. Sarah's heart twisted with regret and rage. This was not the promise. This was her mistake. When Ishmael was born, Abraham loved him. But God's voice came again, cutting through the confusion. "This is not the child I promised. Sarah will bear your son." Sarah was 90 years old. Her skin hung loose on her bones. Her hair was white as desert salt. The thought of pregnancy was not just unlikely. It was grotesque. Yet God's voice did not waver. The months passed. Sarah's body began to change. Impossible changes. Her breasts swelled. Her belly grew round. She felt movement within her, life where death had reigned for decades. Terror and wonder fought for space in her heart. When Isaac was born, Sarah's laughter transformed. No longer bitter mockery, but pure, uncontainable joy. "God has brought me laughter," she said, holding the tiny, perfect child. "Everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." Abraham held his son and wept. The promise was real. The waiting had meaning. His faith, though tested, had not been in vain. Isaac grew. He was bright and curious, running through the camp with the energy of youth. Abraham watched him with a love so fierce it frightened him. This boy was everything. The promise made flesh. The future of nations carried in small, dusty feet. Then God spoke again. "Abraham." "Here I am," he answered, as he always did. "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will show you." The words shattered Abraham's world. His hands began to shake. His vision blurred. This could not be God. God had promised nations through Isaac. How could there be nations if Isaac died? But the voice was unmistakable. The command was clear. Abraham did not sleep that night. He lay beside Sarah, listening to her breathe, knowing he could not tell her. How could he explain that the God who gave them this miracle now demanded its destruction? Before dawn, he rose. He gathered wood for the burnt offering. He saddled his donkey. He woke Isaac gently. "Where are we going, Father?" the boy asked, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "To worship," Abraham replied, the words like stones in his mouth. They walked for 3 days. Each step was agony. Abraham's mind screamed questions at the silent sky. Why? Why give him only to take away? Why build faith only to crush it? But underneath the questions was something deeper, a certainty that had grown through decades of waiting. God had been faithful before, even when it seemed impossible. Even when Abraham had doubted. Even when Sarah had laughed. On the 3rd day, Abraham saw the mountain. His heart pounded against his ribs. Isaac walked beside him, carrying the wood for his own sacrifice, unknowing. "Father," Isaac said as they climbed, "we have fire and wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham's voice broke. "God himself will provide the lamb, my son." They reached the top. Abraham built the altar with trembling hands. He arranged the wood. Each movement felt like drowning. Then he turned to Isaac. The boy's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Father?" Abraham's tears fell freely now. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." He bound Isaac gently, his hands shaking so hard he could barely tie the cords. Isaac did not fight. The boy's trust was more painful than any blade. Abraham lifted his son onto the altar, onto the wood that would consume him. He raised the knife. The metal caught the sunlight. Abraham looked at his son's face one last time. Then he looked at the sky. "I don't understand," he said to God, his voice raw, "but I trust you." He brought the knife down. "Abraham, Abraham." The voice stopped his hand mid-air. The angel of the Lord called from heaven, urgent and clear. "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham dropped the knife. His legs gave out. He collapsed beside the altar, sobbing. Isaac sat up, confusion and relief flooding his young face. Abraham untied him with shaking fingers and pulled him close, holding him as if he might disappear. Then Abraham saw it. A ram caught by its horns in a thicket nearby. God's provision. Just as he had told Isaac, God himself had provided. He sacrificed the ram, and the smoke rose toward heaven. Abraham stood with his arm around Isaac, both of them alive, both of them changed forever. The promise remained. But now Abraham understood something deeper. The promise was never just about Isaac. It was about faith that could sacrifice everything and still believe. God spoke once more, his voice filled with approval. "Now I know that you fear God, for you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Abraham looked up at the sky, now filling with early stars. Each point of light was a promise, not just of descendants, but of faith that would echo through generations. He had believed God when it seemed impossible. He had trusted when every instinct screamed against it. The truth of this story is not found in miracles alone, but in the depth of faith that believes despite everything and stands ready to sacrifice all. What does faith mean to you?